Every living organism in this world has an age, and all materials have a lifespan. When they reach that specific time, their structural integrity gradually becomes weak. Simply put, they lose their strength completely. Eventually, that object gets totally destroyed. In this category, everything in our world has a lifespan, from a few days to many years. Looking at it this way, the oldest thing in our world is our planet Earth itself. In this video, we're going to explore interesting stories that happened at different timelines on planet Earth, and see how the beautiful nature on Earth was formed. It's been approximately 4.5 billion years since our planet was created. During this long time period, many important changes have occurred. We can even call this our planet's upgrade process. The first important thing in this process was the formation of the planet itself. Many of us have heard about this, but let's look at it briefly. In space, many dust particles, ice, gravitational forces, kinetic energy, and numerous elements, all of these collided with each other. Many such phenomena combined to create the planet we call Earth. During the starting period when Earth was created, its temperature was approximately 6,000 degrees Celsius. Gradually, this temperature began to decrease. That's when different layers were created, one of which is the inner core. When our planet started to cool down, all the elements that existed during the planet's creation settled into different layers according to their density. This is how elements with higher density settled in the inner core. And the hottest place on our planet is the inner core itself. Its temperature is 5,200 degrees Celsius. This is higher than the sun's surface temperature. Next is the outer core, which is similar to the inner core. In the outer core, elements exist in liquid state because there's lower pressure here, but its temperature is still 4,000 degrees Celsius. Even though the inner core has higher temperature, elements like iron and nickel remain solid there because of the extremely high pressure. The melting point of a substance can be determined by the surrounding pressure. Iron's melting point is 1,500 degrees Celsius, but in the inner core, iron remains solid even though the inner core temperature is 5,200 degrees Celsius. This is because at that location, the pressure is 36 million times higher than atmospheric pressure. Before we see how pressure increases an element's melting point, let's understand how an element changes between gas, solid, and liquid. The state an element should be in is decided by the surrounding environment and external factors. Let's take iron as an example. When we heat it to 1,500 degrees Celsius, its atoms start to vibrate. As temperature increases, that vibration also increases. At one point, the high vibrational energy breaks the element's molecular bonds. This is what we call the melting point. When an element reaches this melting point, those atomic molecular bonds break and start moving freely. So solid changes to liquid. At the same time, this melting point varies for different elements. Also, the same element's melting point changes according to different environments. If an element melts at 1,500 degrees Celsius, now if we place that element in a pressure compartment and heat it, its melting point will increase depending on the pressure. When an element's temperature increases, its atoms vibrate and break the element's molecular bonds. Because this external pressure increases, the strength of these molecular bonds increases, so breaking these molecular bonds requires more energy, which increases the melting point. When slight pressure difference can change an element's melting point, imagine the inner core having 36 million times atmospheric pressure. That's why even at 5,000 to 6,000 degrees Celsius, iron remains solid. At the same time, in the outer core, it remains in liquid state even at lower temperature than the inner core, because of its lower pressure. As I mentioned earlier, high-density elements formed the inner core and outer core, and remaining elements created the subsequent layers, the mantle and crust. The mantle layer creates activities like earthquakes, plate tectonics, and volcanic eruptions. This mantle layer has played an important role in our planet's evolution. To be more detailed, the mantle layer can control climate and has helped reduce Earth's heat. When volcanic eruptions occur, it means all the heat at that location is being released. All volcanoes are heat vents of a planet, and during volcanic eruptions, many different gases like carbon dioxide, water vapor, and sulfur dioxide are released. All of these combined to create the atmosphere. The sulfur dioxide released during this time temporarily blocks sunlight and quickly cooled down Earth. Once it cooled down to a certain level, water vapor condensed and fell as rain, creating oceans. Most of the oceans covered up and completely cooled down the planet, and a layer called the crust was also created. Once these oceans were created and the planet cooled down, no living organisms could be created because there was no oxygen on the planet at that time. And the atmosphere then contained elements like carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, and hydrogen sulfide. This created a toxic environment. But even in these conditions, the first living organism was created. Prokaryotic microbes, single-cellular living organisms. These were created in the sea. Then, slowly, a few single-cellular organisms were created, one of which was cyanobacteria. This cyanobacteria created oxygen on this planet. Cyanobacteria used sunlight to create its food and released oxygen as a byproduct. When oxygen was created on this planet, organisms that could live using oxygen survived and evolved. Oxygen created the ozone layer in the atmosphere, which protected living organisms from UV rays and other harmful radiation. The presence of this oxygen also created complex living organisms. Similarly, only organisms that used oxygen survived during this time. Because oxygen levels increased, complex cells were created which have mitochondria. If a cell has mitochondria, it can use oxygen as energy. So different complex organisms started to be created. The first multicellular organism was created in the sea. And when the ozone layer protected the land surface from UV rays, many living organisms were also created on land areas. Evolution has brought about many changes on this earth. At the same time, living organisms that couldn't survive evolution were completely destroyed. In Earth's timeline, during different time periods, different species were dominant, and now humans are the dominant species in this world. Maybe the next evolution will make mankind a more powerful dominant species, and the key to that lies with nature. No matter how much mankind understands science, nature understands it much better. That's why it has created such a great super world. There are many hypothetical stories about how living organisms formed in this world. Among them, we looked at one hypothetical concept that many scientists believe in this video. Why do we call all of these hypotheses? Because nobody knows that such things actually happened. We've logically understood based on some evidence we've obtained. But there are many things in this world we don't know about, and a lot of research is still ongoing about them. So in this video, you've learned about the Earth we live in, and I'll see you in the next video with another interesting concept like this. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.